Trump is basically forcing everybody in America to buy cryptocurrency at this point, excluding the fact that the president of the United States just dropped a meme coin, has an NFT collection, his wife has a meme coin, created multiple business ventures, including a Bitcoin treasury on his public companies, made 40% of his net worth off of crypto. He now decides to do an executive order to allow 401k retirement plans to buy crypto. This is not small. Now, this is really significant. You've probably heard the news already, but the background to it is kind of important. Like, when is this actually going to come into effect? How much money can actually flow into the market? What will it do to the asset prices? As you can see right here, 401ks, the entire market size is $7 to $8 trillion of people's retirement. If there was a 1% allocation to crypto, that's $70 to $80 billion. Now, the crazy part about this is that if we look at the total spot Bitcoin ETF flows, as well as the total Ethereum spot ETF flows, which is arguably the reason why we are in a bull market right now. One of the main reasons is because of the Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF. The entirety of all the money that came through since it launched was only $65 to $68 billion. And that's pretty much why we're in a bull run right now. And a 1% allocation of 401ks would be $80 billion. And a 10% allocation would be $800 or $700 billion of potential energy coming into crypto. But it's not tomorrow. Okay, have patience. Don't start degenerate gambling and start dumping all of your money into crypto too early. Let's talk about timelines. The executive order has to go through a little bit of regulation and planning before this actually be implemented into people's real life. So it has to go through the legal gate, the regulatory gate, the provider gate, and the plan sponsorship gate. Basically, if you look at the executive order, it does not say that we are going to get 401ks and dump it into crypto. What it says is we need to start planning. We need to start looking at different departments, getting their feedback, and creating a plan for this rollout because it's very complex, it's very crazy, and there's a lot of risk involved. So when it comes to the actual timelines, guys, it's not going to be tomorrow. My expectation is anywhere from 12 to 16 months. So we're talking about early 2026. Here's the realistic timeline. So as we go through this draft guidance, public comments, final guidance, and the rollout, I'm thinking, like I said, 12, 16, 18 months. I would say that it's probably going to be a little bit faster because of how fixated Trump has been on crypto policies and how he's been basically rolling them out. We did see the regulatory framework for the Stablecoin Act go into play pretty fast. And so I would say, again, my guesstimation, and nobody knows exactly when, my guesstimation is definitely early 2026. Early 2026, we could expect to see at least the hype roll around it. Maybe it's not actually implemented until midway 2026, but maybe we see a buy the rumor thing, or maybe we see hype around it lead to asset prices increasing. I am leaning towards beginning of 2026 because we've seen a lot of things happening in the beginning of 2026. If you guys have been keeping up with me, I've been laying out the case for a lot of different scenarios, including being able to leverage crypto to purchase a house, the loan on a house, right? So this, we went over this too with timelines. This is early 2026. And then we talked about the rate cuts, which is going to be the next topic of discussion, where towards the beginning of 2026, we should have 2 rate cuts. We talked about this months ago before anyone was saying anything. We should have about 2 rate cuts. So everything is the end of the year, beginning of 2026, right? That's what it seems like. Let's talk about the next area of interest, which is the Federal Reserve. And again, Trump is pretty much forcing their hand. He's doing everything in his power to get the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. He's using all his tools, guys. If you've been keeping up with my videos, you know what I'm talking about. And right now we have an 83.2% chance of the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates on September 2025. And I also want to talk about the exact price of Bitcoin as well as altcoin towards the end of this video. So stay with me. I'm going to do some technical analysis, show you guys what I think and where I think good buy prices are and things like that. But the point is that we should have a rate cut in September, and there should be another rate cut before the end of the year. And just to put it simple for you guys, rate cut means that there's going to be more money in the system, more liquidity to go into crypto and to assets. So it means asset prices are increasing. Just to keep it simple for you guys, lowering interest rates means it's cheaper to borrow money. Loans are cheaper. You can get cheaper loans on houses, cars, or whatever you want, right? That means that banks are lending more money, businesses and people borrow more money. That means that there's a massive increase of liquidity. More borrowing means more cash moving into the economy. Investors use that cash to buy assets like stocks and crypto. More buyers with more cash usually means the price of goods increase, including cryptocurrencies. We've seen this throughout time. We've seen when the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, all asset prices go crazy. And the intensity by what they cut. So like, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be like super crazy like COVID, because in COVID, they cut it aggressively, almost like in an emergency. There was an emergency, they cut it aggressively, asset prices went ballistic. In this case, we're gradually cutting. I think it's going to be 2.25 basis cut, which is like the smallest they can over the, by the end of the year. So these are like small gradual cuts. I don't think it's going to be full on altcoin cycle crazy mayhem, but I do think it's going to be very profitable, very lucrative as they cut interest rates. Just to keep it simple for you guys, lowering interest rates means it's cheaper to borrow money. Loans are cheaper. You can get cheaper loans on houses, cars, or whatever you want, right? That means that banks are lending more money, businesses and people borrow more money. That means that there's a massive increase of liquidity. More borrowing means more cash moving into the economy. Investors use that cash to buy assets like stocks and crypto. More buyers with more cash usually means the price of goods increase, including cryptocurrencies. We've seen this throughout time. We've seen when the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates, all asset prices go crazy. And the intensity by what they cut. So like, it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be like super crazy like COVID, because in COVID, they cut it aggressively, almost like in an emergency. There was an emergency, they cut it aggressively, asset prices went ballistic. In this case, we're gradually cutting. I think it's going to be 2.25 basis cut, which is like the smallest they can over the, by the end of the year. So these are like small gradual cuts. I don't think it's going to be full on altcoin cycle crazy mayhem, but I do think it's going to be very profitable, very lucrative as they cut interest rates. And I think we see this reflected in the price of cryptocurrency. We are experiencing somewhat of a risk on environment with Bitcoin dominance. So I've been showing this chart for a while. This is the Bitcoin dominance chart. When this drops, that means that altcoins are doing better than Bitcoin. And as you can see, we have the most convincing drop we have ever experienced since December of 2024, which if you guys remember, in December of 2024, it was pretty much like a very, very lucrative time to be involved with altcoins. We have a very convincing drop. In one case, we're down 11.32%. In December of 2024, we're down 10.29%. Now, we know that these are small drops because if we look at previous cycles, this is what an altcoin season really looks like. So we have the convincing start of a potential altcoin season. We have the rate cuts towards the end of the year. We have the 401ks towards the beginning of next year. It just really is lining up. It really is lining up for a risk-on environment, for altcoin season to really start flourishing. Could this be the start? Like I said before in other videos, I think this is the start. This is the most convincing drop we've seen, and it will confirm as we go further down. I think it will go maybe 12-15% will give us our confirmation that this was the top of Bitcoin dominance. And then from there, it's definitely going to go down. But again, I want to just really explain to you guys this right here. This is what an altcoin season looks like. I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting, and maybe because of lack of patience, they're getting a little bit complacent. They're like, I don't know if I want to hold my crypto. I get it. I understand. I know it's taking a long time. This is definitely a little bit of an extended cycle than what we're currently, we're used to in the past, or whatever the case is. But look, altcoin season drops, and when it gets really, really crazy, this is where the 100x are built. And you can even see that during the first cycle as well. So this is like the first altcoin season. Look how crazy it gets. It does drop a lot. We are not there, but I do believe this is very convincing to actually be the starting point of the altcoin cycle. And at the same time, Bitcoin, this is Bitcoin's price, we are potentially making some support off of previous resistance. What do I mean by that? As you can see right here, we have a point of resistance, 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 resistance. It broke through. Now it looks like we're coming back to this all-time high, or not the all-time high, but the 108, 110 price level, or whatever the case is. And when resistance turns into support, this is extremely bullish. So if we come down here, we kind of, you could say it tested it one time, but we could test it again. So we could come to 110, test it one more time. And if resistance turns into support, so now this was previously resistance, right? As you can see right here, now it's turning into support. This is extremely bullish for Bitcoin's price, which can bring up the entire market. When Bitcoin goes up, pretty much all altcoins. So if we see, again, I want to say this is like usually the characteristics, and I made a video about this. It's called the power cycle. You can go look up, the specific video for yourself. But the characteristics of the start of an altcoin season is when Bitcoin is breaking out in a parabolic way, and at the same time, Bitcoin dominance is dropping. So it just really does look like that's about to happen. And with all the fundamental news lining up towards the end of the year, I do not think, and this is my personal take, it's time to start selling your crypto at all. I do think it's accumulation time. And so what I recommend is everybody really just start researching altcoins. I was talking to this guy, and he was like, yeah, Alex, I just follow your buy and sell calls. And I'm like, first off, I don't do buy and sell calls. I tell you what I do with my money, which is completely different, because my lifestyle is different. My investments are going to be different from yours for a fact. I'll be able to take more risk because I have more capital. There's so many different little nuanced details. But I told him, I was like, bro, like, you can't follow my buy and sell trades. Like, it's impossible. I tell this all the time. I give out all my trades in my groups, my $1 group. I give it all out. But I even talked to another guy, and he's like, oh, did you put out a sell call? I'm like, bro, like, you can't even, first off, you don't even have the notification set up to follow it. Second off, even if you tried to follow it, you couldn't. You're not going to be able to buy when I buy. You're not going to be able to sell when I sell unless you have the conviction and emotional stability to do it. Like, I remember last cycle, I didn't sell the exact top, but I sold right around here. And nobody believed me. Nobody followed. Like, I can't say nobody, but like, I would say if I added a percentage to it, like 90% of people did not follow me and they got wrecked. I sold around here. They just decided to not do anything. Like, the people decided to not do anything. The market kept falling. Like, for some reason, when it comes to making a decision like this, it's very difficult emotionally. So it's kind of like saying, you could watch me bench press. And because you've watched me so many times, because you've been analyzing the way I bench press, you think you can bench press my weight. It doesn't work that way. And so what you need to do is get under the bench press and actually start lifting weight yourself, which is basically researching coins. You need to develop conviction. You need to actually try things. You need to do something. And like we always say in these videos, I actually have a one-page report. So if you go to the link in the pinned comment below, it's $1 a month. It's a 7-day free trial, $1 a month. And the only reason we charge the $1 is because they're scammers, and we already see the scammers in the group. We're weeding them out. But like, if we made it free, there would be like 10 times more scammers. So we put it $1 a month to weed out all those low quality scammers. And now we have the high quality ones that we're gonna have to manually take out, but you get the point. We have a one-page research report where you can just learn exactly how to research coins, submit it to us, and we actually even go over it. And like, the whole entire system, like, I just really hope that you guys are prepared for this massive altcoin cycle, just like here. Like, I hope you guys are really prepared for this, man, because when it starts getting crazy, everything we're doing right now will pay off. If you start trying to research altcoins during the altcoin cycle, you're going to be all over the place. You're not going to have enough time, and your research is going to be pretty surface level. It's not going to be good. And so what I recommend is, when it's quiet right now, is that you start putting in effort, putting in work to actually really understand, like really comprehend what's going on. Like most people don't really understand. It's just the sad truth of it. They're just buying and gambling. The only difference between a gambler and an investor is an investor actually has a system and strategy. A gambler just buys based off of emotions and what other people say. That's pretty much what a gambler is. They have no methodology to what they're doing. They're just buying and selling. So I highly recommend you guys stop being gamblers and just get into the group and actually do some work. Like, I just want to make the blanket statement claim I always make in my videos in my group. There is no way to make money off of crypto without doing work. There's nothing on the face of the planet that will get you rich without any effort. And if there is something that gets you rich without any effort, you're going to lose it just as fast. and you might have to compromise your life too, like sell your soul or do something crazy to do that. Everyone that I know has gotten rich without a skill set has lost it just as quick. You can get rich quick, but you can lose it quicker, right? So you need to develop the conviction, the strategy, the methodology, the emotional control to be able to get through these turbulent times. Guys, listen to what I'm saying. There's even been people I've given money to. Like, I've given them money. It turned into a lot. And they're freaking out about it. Like, you can't even give somebody a handout without the skill set to match it. Like, you can't even do that. Like, you can't even give somebody a handout without the skill set to match. Like, that's how crazy it is. So if you think that you can follow my trades, like, that's crazy. That is crazy talk. The platforms that say copy trading scams, I don't believe in it. You do need to become an actual legitimate trader to benefit in this market. And I'm going to say that till I get proven otherwise. But yeah, that is not, like, get rich quick is not a thing. It's not real. It's a lie, and it's meant to keep you in bondage to finances and to keep you idolizing money. So let's put in some work. Let's develop the skill set. The Bible says, I will make one rich and add no pain and sorrow with it. And a lot of you are working, and it's mad weird, bro. It gets really weird in crypto. You got to change. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. If you don't get with it, you will get left behind. See you guys later. Peace out.